Talk at this Harker Heights bar last week turned to another move by gambling interests to move into Texas. Dylan didn't want to give his last name, but says he supports the idea.
I think it's a good idea, just like I think any kind of betting and gambling should be legal.
Because?
Well, because, this is a free country. We should be able to do what we want.
Two bills in the Texas legislature would advance gaming here. One would make an exception for it in the Texas Constitution and put it to a public vote. The other details how it would work. And there's a bit of a surprise here because the bill doesn't authorize casino gambling. It limits Texas to sports betting.
Rattles it in. Suns to their biggest lead now of 10.
Now, why sports betting, you ask? Because whether it's legal or not, people do it anyway, often offshore or in more shadowy corners of our communities, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars a year, at least $5 billion from Texas alone.
And some think that number is even higher. These bets are taken in the black market that does not support local business, cannot be taxed, and most important, cannot be monitored or regulated.
So yes, even sports teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers support sports betting to grab some of those hundreds of billions that seem to evaporate every year. Of course, governments will get their cut too.
We have people who are betting all the time in Ohio online, and they're going to do this. And so, allowing us to keep some of this money for education in the state seems to me to make sense.
While betting in Ohio will benefit education, Texas plans to spend its 10% profits on special education. How did gaming get to be such a huge deal? Two reasons: so-called free money and free spending politicians.
I don't think we're talking about in the tens of millions. I think we're talking about in the hundreds of millions.
Republican lawmaker Dan Huberty of Houston says betting could generate several $100 million a year for Texas. But financial experts remind us free money isn't really free. Those experts call gambling of any kind a voluntary tax and not what everybody can afford to pay. Religious groups call sports betting just another empty promise from gambling interests.
The lottery came into this state promising the people in Texas they were going to pay for education. That actually allows us to really evaluate something like this. We've been sold a bag of goods before that hadn't panned out.
The cost for a betting license may look steep to some small businesses, with an on-site betting license going for $50,000 and mobile licenses going for a cool mill. Not to mention service provider and renewal fees. Why such a rush to roll the dice in Texas? Well, the American Gaming Association reports that U.S. commercial gaming revenue totaled just $30 billion in 2020. That's down more than 31% year over year. Some say the gaming business needs an infusion from Texas to recover from COVID. Gaming burst on the scene about 20 years ago, making piles of money for the companies and their government partners. A 2018 U.S. Supreme Court decision made sports betting legal across the country. Why so much pressure on Texas?
Texas is one of the largest sports markets in the country. And everybody wants to see just a way to enhance the sports for the fans, for the teams, for the stadiums, for the tourism. And I think everybody just wants to make sure that we're on the same playing field as the rest of the states in the country.
Because this map shows every state where sports betting remains in play, including the 25 states that already have made it legal.
New Jersey can leapfrog ahead of Nevada on sports betting. Mississippi is about to legalize online sportsbook, casino, and poker. Colorado's doing wonderful. Pennsylvania's doing wonderful. Michigan just launched. Virginia's about to launch. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. Arizona and Maryland are all up, ready to go.
And now Texas takes the spotlight, the biggest state so far to take up the betting question, and a prize for those for and against the idea.
The world is watching Texas right now.
And Dylan says he's watching what lawmakers will do next. Dennis Turner, 25 News.